This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're well. Thank you very much as always for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the recent episodes that have come your way. There were of course the Lionesses, we had the preview one and the review one. Well done to them with the Arnold Clark Cup victory. There was also the latest in our World Cup series, where we looked at Chile 1962. Once again, with the thanks to Blackburn Rovers legend and England player Brian Douglas. If you've missed any of those, you can still tune in to threelionspodcast.com, or you can find them on your usual podcast provider. And don't forget, you can also find it. It's on YouTube too. Just search Three Lions Podcast. There are plenty of senior men and women's episodes there to be heard and enjoyed. But this particular episode, we are once again looking at the England C team. And as you may be aware, it was recently announced that the semi-professional side, picked from players from the National League and National Leagues North and South, well, they're going to be in action again. In 2020, I spoke with England C manager Paul Fairclough. That episode can still be heard. It's episode 105. And I'm delighted to say he joins me again ahead of the game being played at the end of this month, 30th of March. Firstly, though, I do just want to point out this recording, it was done a couple of weeks back, just before he got busy. And when things in the world were, shall we say, just a little less tense. Now, it gives me great pleasure to welcome back to the Three Lions podcast, England C manager Paul Fairclough. Hello, Paul.
Hi, good morning.
You're well?
Yeah, very well indeed. Yeah.
Good to hear. I know we last spoke with you, it was July 2020, when obviously the world was all a little bit upside down in various shapes and forms. But the main thing is you're keeping well?
Yeah, keeping well, kept my interest and my, going with football, going out to see as many games as possible under those circumstances through those difficult periods. It was limited, but seen a lot of games, a lot of football at a lot of levels.
Good stuff. Do people recognise you when you go to games?
Occasionally, but occasionally I get a weird look. Yeah, but I go to so many places. I'll go to various steps, really quite down low. I'm sort of a president of a Step 5 club as well, honorary president. So I, paid the occasional visit, and I did some work with pre-season work with Harbour Town. So that's the level. I get about and see lots of different levels and mingle with lots of different levels. So there's a younger generation out there who wouldn't have a clue who I was.
No. I'm sure your face is in. I know the non-league paper as well, and many non-league fans will see that and probably recognise you, but a little bit too shy to ask for a selfie with an England manager.
Yeah.
Well, back in 2020, the England C team we spoke about, you were feeling a bit downtrodden, a bit downbeat. Obviously, with there was a Wales game due to be played in March of that year that had been cancelled or postponed, as I guess it will be, and things weren't looking good because of you mentioned lack of funding back then as well. But we're speaking now because there's the news that the Wales game has been revived, as it were, for the end of March?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really hard work gone on behind the scenes over the last 18 months. A gentleman who helps out with the England C set up, Andy Shaw and Lawrence Jones, who actually works within the FA. They've been trying to get the England C back into life, trying to give it the kiss of life. And so we've managed to secure some funding from Step 1, 2 and 3 leagues. Wow. To be able to take an England open age non-league side to international side to play in Carnarvon on the 30th of March.
That's great stuff that these teams have put their hand in their pocket.
Well, it's the league's organisations who've there's a board that ratifies everything. We've had some difficult times because we've not really known what direction or when or if it was all going to happen again. And so this is for us and for me, it's a toe in the door, if you like, to getting back our funding, our FA funding, to take this wonderful team and what it does forward.
I don't know whether you'll know the answer to this or even be able to give me the answer to this, but to give us an idea or an understanding, just how much funding is needed for just this one game. Is there a ballpark figure that you could?
No, I mean it's not a huge figure, but what you've got to work out with this is that there would be we got to make sure players get there to where we're going. There's transport implications, there's hotel implications, because we'll be to do things properly, which we want to do, and I wouldn't want to do it any other way. It's got to be, for me, as elite as it would be for the first team. Obviously, we can't have the 7-star plush facilities of St George's because we can't afford and never have been able to afford to use St George's. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So but the England C lads know that. They get a full international cap. And, I'm not prepared to divulge what it actually takes to put on a game like that. But it's a small amount that I'm very appreciative of what the leagues have done to allow this game to go on I have to say, it'll be on a very strict, tight budget. But the most important thing, there's a generation of players out there who deserve to be capped for their country. We go back to, I think it's, you probably know more than me, 1900 was the first non-league international match when England played at White Hart Lane against Germany, and to a massive crowd. And there's always been a non-league team since those days. And I'm just glad that this team is back in the arena. We got back in the ring. We dragged ourselves back into it with the help of some very courageous people. And here we are, on the eve, building up to a fantastic game against Wales.
So the game is going to be on Wednesday, the 30th of March. It's up at Carmarthen Town in the northwest of Wales. Was it the game that was originally postponed? Was that where it was going to be anyway?
I think it was going to be up that neck of the woods, yeah. We played, I can't quite recall where we have played in the more southern part of Wales previously. And we played them also, I think we played them in the UK at Salford City's ground. I think this is something that could be an annual event. It's leaning that way. At one time, the England C was a series of the only games that we were playing were sort of the Four Nations tournament, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And I think I've mentioned that before. That was played over a period of about 6 or 7 days. And that was a great event and highly, highly competitive, as you could imagine. But to me, it had nothing to do with football by day 6 or by day 7, because the players were on their knees. And your final game was more about stamina than about technical ability, which is what I'm all about. So in some ways, I'd like to see something like that resurrected, but played over a period of time, as opposed to being squashed into the end of a season when players were very tired also.
Yeah, that's understandable. The game that's coming up, you've obviously been speaking with, the England C team have obviously been speaking with your Welsh counterparts. I mean, how much has actually gone into putting this game on?
A great deal. I mean, the Welsh FA have supported the Wales team. They're funding it, and we've had to do a lot of. How shall I say? We literally gone round cap in hand to make sure that we have the funds to be able to pull off this game. So we've done that. We've secured funding. So there's massive work. As we speak now, there's massive work going on. I mean, I'm in the process of preparing the training sessions and getting the food menus ready to send off. We've got other people who'll do the transportation and organising that. So this work will be going on continually now, right up until kick-off. I mean, the logistics of it is a whole story itself. Picking up the kit and transporting the kit. People don't realise that's a big issue that has to go on. I mean, when we used to play abroad, we tried giving the players an extra huge bag to carry on board, an aeroplane to get us to a game, but it didn't work. So what will happen, even with the full England first team, a convoy of vans will go ahead to the countries that they're playing in to take, the kits and so forth. I mean, we didn't have a convoy we had a minibus that used to take ours ahead, but it was great, and it still is.
That's great. Oh, it's fascinating that the England manager, since, when was it, 2003, I think you were put in place, is putting together the menus for the players. It really does show what the non-league level is all about.
Yeah, it is. But having said that, I like to think, I've got sports scientists, a lad called John Cree, who's highly qualified. I can get advice from him. I've got a doctor down in Bath who's currently got a broken leg, but he's fighting hard to get ready for the game. I've got those sort of resources to pull on, and obviously I've got to keep ahead of the times as well. I mean, I've got to know what's right for the right diet, and so I seek the advice from these guys. But then, I tend to put it together and send it off to the hotels. Yeah,
all this, and obviously you've got to select a team or a squad as well. How big a squad are you anticipating on taking, or are you allowed to take?
That's the point, isn't it? It's it's what the resources will allow us to take. No, we'll do what we've always done. We'll take a squad of 16.
Right.
And the difference and why this is unique and such a great occasion is, for the last 10 years, England C has been an under-23 side, because that's the route we took, because we created this under-23 tournament with international European teams who were in the under-21 Euros competitions, and we were enticing those teams to come and join in this competition, and they tended to use the International Challenge Trophy as a warm-up for the Euros, the under-21, FIFA Euro under-21 tournaments. And we were playing top players, I mean, players who are now household names in their countries, playing for their full national teams. So we were playing against elite players, and it was really what I wanted for England's non-league elite players, to stretch them, to show them what it was going to be like when and if they really made the grade, and that worked for 10 years. I mean, we've had hundreds of players go on and play in the Premiership. You know, people like Ethan Pinnock, who's playing at the back. He has to pinch himself these days, Ethan. You know, when he runs out of places like Anfield. You know, when his game for England C, he played in a swirling snowstorm in Estonia, and when he made his international debut. So we got players like that who've gone on and benefited from going through the England C team when it was under 23, because that's what we were all about, giving our best young players a further experience in their, to help them up the ladder even further. But on this occasion, this is going to be an open age team, because I want to give those lads over the last 2-3 years who've missed that opportunity, but also recognise some of the real quality players who missed out earlier in their career or have since dropped down from the Football League, and when they were professional footballers weren't getting recognised by the England team, but now they've also got a chance to finally end their career with sitting with an England cap, and showing their grandchildren eventually that, look, I played for England.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And do you think that's something that you will maybe do again, keep it open-aged?
Look, if I had my way and money wasn't a resource, I'd have 2 teams. Right. I'd have an under-23 team which was doing what we were doing, and I'd have us taking part in that. I'd try to get that tournament resurrected, and then I'd have an open age England C team. I think the direction of the England C team will change, because unless the funding is returned, it will have to go in a different direction. For example, we'll probably try to play teams, and I know there are teams out there. There's countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India would love. We've got a fixture scheduled to. Well, it's on the list. We have to play it because documents have signed with Nepal.
Oh, right.
So I think that could be the route that we'll go. Countries who would welcome a visit from the FA, and those countries will have the funds to bring a team out. So I think that will be a route that probably the England C team, as I say, unless funding is restored, will. And if we wanted to carry on, which I'm desperate for the team to carry on, because it's all about the players. We want the players to have these international experiences. As I say, 1900. I want it to carry on, and so that could be, or will be, one of the routes that this team will go down.
Well, maybe we can speak about that at a later date. But I think, obviously, you said at the very beginning, you've been around the country scouting around for players. Non-league football is doing very well at the moment. At the time we're speaking, middle of February, it's tight at the top of the National League with both Stockport and Chesterfield. But we've also got Boreham Wood in the FA Cup, who are doing well and have obviously drawn Everton. So non-league football is good, and for the players that are potentially going to be involved.
Look, non-league football. I mean, I've obviously, whilst I've worked in the Football League, my real roots in my heart is in non-league football, and the steps that it's made forward. I mean, there's such great quality of players in non-league football now. Really, really is, and that's being reflected also by the crowds. Yep. I mean, there's some huge crowds. I mean, we've got. We've had gates in excess of 12,000, 13,000 this year at some games. I mean, it is phenomenal. there's more, and as you will be aware, there's a lot more investment going into non-league football as well. I mean, there's some teams there. Well, there are teams in the National League who've got far better budgets than teams in Division 2 and some better than Division 1. So, clubs are in search of the Holy Grail, and they're putting together very strong. I mean, I was not shocked at all by Boreham Wood's fantastic victory at Bournemouth. I'm not taking anything away from Boreham Wood, but I'll tell you now, Boreham Wood are a very, very good and experienced team, as there are several in the league. And to think that Bournemouth could leave out 9 of their regular first-team players and turn them over, it ain't going to happen. National League teams will play Championship teams, reserve teams in pre-season games, and those Championship teams won't get a look in, such as the strength of the non-league first team. So some of these teams in the FA Cup are going to have to wake up, because Boreham Wood and several other teams are more than well equipped to turn over Championship reserve teams.
Well, obviously, we're talking before the Boreham Wood Everton game, but just could they?
Well, I'm telling you now, if Everton do not respect the FA Cup, then there could easily be a shock. Having said that, Everton and Frank Lampard ain't got much left to go for in this season, and Lampard's going to want a feather in his cap. So if he's as astute as what I hope he is, he'll put out as strong a team as possible, because if he doesn't, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we'd be looking at any Boreham Wood players for the C team. Can you?
Well, that has been a real blow to us, because of the exploits. First of all, the National League have been fantastic. No games are allowed to be played in the week of our fixture. As it is with the full England team. So the National League have been fantastic with that. But Boreham Wood, in advance of once they'd gotten through these rounds, before the game was announced, their chairman had arranged for the players to go for a winter break.
Oh, right.
And so they will be out of the country. So unfortunately, and I know there's lads in there who would have loved an England cap, but unfortunately they're the only team that's not going to be available to us. Oh,
that's a shame. But I mean, I guess these things happen. Coincidences happen.
Mr. Hunter, the chairman, wasn't aware of the game at the time. He'd booked that. I'm sure if he'd have known it, he'd have changed it.
Well, I guess they'll always probably be appreciative of a little break somewhere nice as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's. I noticed that there was a former player or a player that had played in the England C team before. Is it Kabongo Tshimanga at Chesterfield, who's unfortunately injured? Well, is that something you think he may be fit for? Or
well, I'm due to talk to the club this week. I've let things calm down first, because it was a crushing blow. Because, as you're probably aware, Chesterfield, the key injury, or looked like a serious injury to their top goal scorer. They've also had a very recent change of manager. So I want the dust to settle, and then I'll make the call to see where we stand with the player. It's a great shame, because one of the other things I do at the FA is I run a representative side. I don't know whether those games will still carry on, but for example, if Hertfordshire FA, for example, were celebrating, 150 years of football, they can request from the FA for the FA to send an FA representatives team. Now, what I will normally do, the FA will say, "Can you put a team together?" And I'll put a team together from around the surrounding area, the best elite non-league players, and Tshimanga was in one of those teams at Luton. We played a Bedfordshire game, and he was in that. That's when we recognised him when he was back in the days playing for Oxford. He was red hot then. He looked the part then, and we're all very, very, sad. Because he's just a great kid as well. Quiet, unassuming young lad. He wouldn't say boo to a goose, but on the pitch he's a different, kettle of fish altogether. Great player, and I believe, and hopefully this injury is not too serious, but I believe that this lad will go for a lot of money come the end of the season. Or put it this way, Chesterfield will be under a lot of pressure. For this player. So we'll find out more. I've not ruled it out completely yet, but yeah, he was one of the players, should I say,
in your mind.
He was in my mind, yeah.
Yeah. Do you get on well with all the managers and chairmen of the National League clubs?
Yeah, I do, yes, and I try not to be in the faces of the managers, because I've been there, I've done it, I know the schedule, and they don't want me bending their ear all the time, because the other thing, you can talk to I want to avoid embarrassing situations, because I can remember the days Chris Wilder used to be phoning me up all the time when he was non-league manager, saying, "No, you've got to play this player. I want you to play this. This player's good enough." And it's quite disappointing when those managers see the England team and the players that they push forward are not in it.
Yeah.
So I want to avoid that kind of scenario as well. I'll talk to managers when there's something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
So I keep out of the way of them. But no, they know where I am if they need me, and I'll get on well with the chairman as well.
On your own staff, I saw that you've had your old Barnet captain has joined you, Anwar Uddin.
Yeah, Anwar. Anwar has got non-league roots, as well, and he had a tickle with Aldershot. He's known non-league football. He's still doing bits and pieces now. I think he's helping out a little bit at Maidstone. So he's a guy who's got his ear to the ground in non-league football. He's been looking at his coaching badges, and he'll be a great asset to us. But I've taken him on board for this game to see if he suits what we call the England C DNA. Yep. Which I'm sure he does, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, since his appointment, he's been red hot. He's been out watching games whenever he can.
Bending your ear, has he?
Oh yeah, well I don't mind that, you see, because he's one of the staff now, isn't he?
So the game coming up Wednesday, the 30th of March. Obviously, with the game being resurrected, are you confident now going forward?
No.
Right.
And answer to that, I'm just elated that we've got this game, and it's sort of extra pressure, if you like, because hey, we've had this the first time we've had external funding, and with that comes pressure. Having said that, I've always been about performance. The only time I've felt under pressure as the England C manager was when we were in the International Challenge Trophy, because we wanted to win that. But this is a different occasion. Normally games like this are classified as friendlies. It's about performance. However, I'll be taking a lot more mature side, and you try telling those players that we're playing a friendly.
Mm.
They don't understand the word, and nor will the Welsh team. So I'm expecting a very, very competitive game. But in terms of team selection as well, in my experience, I have to pick a squad, but I have to have a heavy contingency squad as well, because as what happens with the first team, players get injured, and even on the eve of the game, players get withdrawn, and because of so there'll be a lot of players with fingers crossed that they don't get injured. There'll be a lot of players, fingers crossed, hoping that some players do get injured before the game and they can get the call up. So no, look, we're all very grateful and we're all very excited. I mean, I'm not a Twitter man, but apparently I've been informed that loads and loads of ex-England C players came out on Twitter celebrating the fact that the team was back in action.
Oh, right.
So we know there's a lot of support from, ex-players, players in the Football League, and who still, there's players out there who are playing in the Football League now who will still say that their England shirt on the wall is still in pride of place in their homes, and that to me is something very special, and that's what we want to make this occasion a very special event for those players, an unforgettable and memorable occasion.
And so it should be. I know that there are tickets going to be available for supporters wanting to go. I don't know. Do you know if it's going to be streamed online or on?
Not yet. I think it normally these games do get a streaming. I know the Welsh FA are normally pretty good on this.
Right.
So I think there will be access to a link, but that normally comes. We find out about that quite late. But it's a good point, and maybe I should push to find out earlier if that game is going to be streamed live. Because I know I've got family who live abroad, and they always stream into the games if they can.
Yeah, well, that'd be good to find out. Good to watch. We'll keep updated on that one.
It's interesting you should say that, because BT taking a lot of games. They take in and show them live on BT, and it beggars my belief to this would be a key game for them. But so we'd love to have the interest of BT to see their elite players who they screen every weekend on TV actually playing for the non-league national team. So something else we need to explore, and something else that mystifies me as well.
Very good point. Yeah, BT, get your fingers on that game. Paul, thank you as always for joining us and just giving us a little insight into it. Wish you all the very best for the game, and perhaps we can speak after the game at some point and reflect on it.
Yeah, win, lose or draw, as they say, we'll have some more after the event. So. Yeah. Okay. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you. My thanks go to Paul Fairclough there. A great insight into what a national manager at that level has to go through and the things he does, with perhaps not as much support from the top as he may like, or we maybe would expect. As you heard, he's open to having a chat after the game, so I'm sure that will be a great listen, regardless of the result. So stay subscribed and you won't miss it. Now, I did mention at the start of the episode I spoke with Paul a little while back, but since then he has announced his squad. And it is as follows: 2 goalkeepers, Ryan Boot of Solihull Moors and Scott Loach of Chesterfield. 5 defenders in there: Richard Brindley of Notts County, Ash Palmer, Stockport County, Aaron Hayden and Ben Tozer, both from Wrexham, and Nathan Ralph of Southend United. In midfield, 4 players: Will Collar and Ryan Crosdale, both of Stockport County, Matt Robinson, Dagenham and Redbridge, and Joe Sabara of Solihull Moors. And up front, 5 forwards: Cal Roberts, Notts County, Michael Cheek of Bromley, Paul Mullin of Wrexham, and Liam Mandeville of Chesterfield, and Ephron Mason-Clark from Barnet. Now here's an interesting one. Goalkeeper Scott Loach, he's actually got an under-21 cap to his name. Back in 2009, that was when Stuart Pearce was in charge of the under-21s, and he was also a squad member for the senior side on a couple of occasions. In 2010 for a friendly against Hungary, and then for Euro 2012 qualifiers against Bulgaria and Switzerland. This was whilst he was at Watford and when Fabio Capello was in charge of the England team. Now, if social media is your thing, you can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. And you can get in touch through any of those. Or if email is your thing, 3lionspodcast@gmail.com. That will come direct to me. Or perhaps if you've got an idea, I can follow up for a future episode. Whatever. It's always good to hear from you. Of course, the senior men, they will be in action very soon too in their friendly matches against Switzerland and the Ivory Coast. We'll have the preview episode for that one very soon, and I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care of yourselves and those around you. Peace.